Hey guys, and welcome back to another Conan Exiles video. Today we are on the Isle of Siptar in map square G11, building Lumbridge Church and Graveyard from Runescape 3. I've wanted to build some structures from different games for a while now, and seeing as Runescape is a game I have an absurd amount of time in, I felt like this was a good place to start. So Lumbridge Church and Graveyard is probably one of the most well-known places within Lumbridge aside from the castle. This church plays host to the starting points of the Restless Ghosts and the Bloodpact quests, and seeing as Lumbridge is sort of the de facto home city of RuneScape, it's one of those key locations of the game. It's not the most iconic building, but it's a classic. As usual, all the mods are in the pinned comment below, so without further ado, let's get started. Firstly, I started off with, of course, the baseplate. I measured out the size of the church within RuneScape and it sits at 12 by 8, with a 2x4 entrance with a double door. I was intending to just port those dimensions directly into Conan, but in retrospect it would have been far too large, so therefore I cut the measurements in half, ending up with a 6x4 main building and a 1x2 entrance. I built the baseplate using slate brick fence foundations, and I capped them off with slate temple ceilings. Next for the walls. Trying to keep the materials accurate was probably the hardest part of this build, so I went through a lot of options and eventually I settled on slate brick walls. The bricks are a little smaller than I'd like, but they work quite well for the general vibe of what I'm aiming for. Now in RuneScape the church has 2 floors and a Belltower, and though the measurements are different, in Conan I made the decision that the ground floor would be 2 tiles high, the first floor would be 1 tile and the tower would be 3. As I was building the walls, I placed a 2x4 stage at the front of the church, built the first 2 tiles of the walls upwards, and then added the 1 tile high entrance. I also added slope sides to the core walls above where the roof of the entrance will sit to close that gap. Next for the first floor. Looking at the layout in-game, the first floor consists of 2 catwalks linked to the ground floor and the bell tower by their respective ladders. Aside from that, there isn't really too much to the first floor, so that's what I mirrored in Conan. The exact shape wasn't possible due to the difference in tile sizes between RuneScape and Conan, but it's a fairly simple build process. I built the walkways with insulated wooden ceilings and fenced them off with mana fences, building the walls up 1 tile high again. I also placed large, simple roof gables on either side of the church. Next for the bell tower. I built part of the roof using metal roof pieces, onto which I then placed wooden ceilings, thus allowing me to build the bell tower. As I said earlier, I built it 3 tiles high and I raised smaller roof gables on the front and sides of the tower. These roof details are present in the RuneScape version, though they are a bit more subtle. This is about the best that can be done with Conan's building system, however, I actually think it works quite nicely. Once the walls of the bell tower were complete, I then added ceilings and crenellated walls to the top of the tower, finished off any remaining roofing and quickly moved on to the graveyard. I used ghost mode here to place fence foundations much closer to the ground, and then I built them out at a size of 7 by 6, and I then placed metal fences onto the fence foundations. I created 2 entrances, one with gates and one without, though I would add a third in the furnishing phase, and I also constructed a small 2x2 hut at the back of the cemetery. This hut serves as the entrance to the catacombs, and in RuneScape, it's the area where the Blood Pact quest takes place in. Finally, when the shell of the build was done, it was then time to of course furnish. Approaching the build, I've tried to keep things as faithful as possible to the in-game version, using custom paintings from Shani's stuff to include Saradomin's star wherever possible. Entering the church, the ground floor remains pretty faithful to the in-game version, though unfortunately I couldn't find a mod that offered a church organ or even a decent piano I could place at the back of the hall. I did try some other workarounds, but nothing really worked, so unfortunately I did have to omit the organ. However, everything else is pretty much spot on. On the first floor, though the walkways don't mirror the in-game version perfectly, they're pretty nice and they serve their function very well. Heading up to the Belltower, it's a pretty simple room where, well, you guessed it, the bell can be rung. Nothing too fancy, but it's just as simple as the in-game version. Heading out to the graveyard, I've lit the area sparsely with candle lanterns, added lots of gravestones and shovels around, and even a few ravens. I've included the iconic yew tree at the back of the graveyard and the tomb where you start the Restless Ghost quest. And there we have it, Lumbridge Church and Graveyard from RuneScape 3, recreated in Conan Exiles. Thanks for watching. Building things from different games in Conan is something I've wanted to do for a while. I've always been a bit tentative about it, however, today I just decided to throw caution to the wind and go for it, and it actually came out quite good. If you enjoy my content, all the links to my Twitch, Twitter, Discord, Patreon, Host Havoc affiliate page, NordVPN discount and NordPass discount are available in the description below. However, of course, you can simply just leave a like, a comment or subscribe. Any of those are very greatly appreciated. Patrons get a bunch of nice benefits, including sneak peeks of videos, your name in every video, custom made wallpapers in 1080p and 4K resolutions, full-size build blueprints, Discord roles and more. On that note, a massive thanks to our patrons Sadialot, Randar, Connor, Ivy, Velma, Torn, Coffeeman04 and Eagle Rose. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.